So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data.
Yo. What up, though? All right. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I was dropping the niece off, and I ended up right up against the time. So, yeah. Alrighty then. Yeah, no news, or personal news. So, How are we doing today? How is everybody? It's Friday and Saturday, Sunday. I hope everybody has a weekend, is excited for their weekend, all that good stuff. Okay. Sound checks are all good. Yeah, so in before somebody brings this to my attention and asks me to comment about it, do. What do I want? I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And close that. There we go. All right, it's the thing that everyone is talking about. It was just on Basic PJ's show. Shout out Basic PJ. Talking about this. So this is the updated story, right? So the original story is that they were testing a drone in simulation. That drone, hi Ferris. That drone, was designed to shoot SAMs, surface-to-air missiles, and they, and it had a human operator as like a go no go order, which is what everyone is calling for regarding these systems, right? That you need a human at the end to be responsible for killing other humans. And when the drone was told no, it eliminated the operator in the simulation, like not an actual person. But this goes back to the stop button problem. And how do we assign goals and values to those goals for the AI to understand, and how do we align what the AI's goals are with our own? Once they told the AI, like, you're going to lose like 1,000,000 points or whatever for killing the operator, basically, don't do that, then it attacked the infrastructure, right? It killed the communications tower. And now this guy says he misspoke, which, okay. So Colonel Hamilton admits he misspoke in his presentation at the FCAS summit, and the Rogue AI drone simulator was a hypothetical thought experiment from outside the military based on plausible scenarios and likely outcomes rather than an actual USAF real-world simulation. We've never run that experiment, nor would we need to in order to realize that this is a plausible outcome. I could go either way on this. Because I can do it, right? Like, once you shift your thinking into that that stop button problem type scenario. What up, Sir Yogi Wan? Welcome. Once you shift your thinking towards that, then you can come up with sufficient thought experiments to realize that this is a possibility, right? So I accept that it's plausible that a thought experiment was done rather than an actual simulation. At the same time, given the way that the story exploded and kind of like the backlash, I also wouldn't put it past them to actually have run the experiment and then it crashed and burned. You know what I mean? Like they ran into the thing that allegedly they didn't do, so on and so forth. I could go either way on it, right? But the point is the problem. We should not get distracted by any of the things around this. We should focus on what the problem is, and the problem is AI alignment. And in that tone, we're going to look at some Twitter, some of the twits. Because there's a guy that I really like for his takes on crypto, but I feel like his takes on AI and AI development have also been poisoned by that. And that's ultimately a problem, right? Like, because another thing that I just spoke with Basic PJ about was how the like whether or not the AI companies are doing this for regulatory capture or whether they're doing it as a like a sales pitch, any of those kind of things. And while that is a possibility, at the same time, the threats are real. Unless you are one of those people who just believes that AI, like actual artificial general intelligence, is not a thing that can happen, right? And I think that lacks imagination and just perception of the facts as they actually exist, right? Like it's akin to wishful thinking. Because on a long enough timeline, I think that you absolutely will have artificial general intelligence, right? And I'm just looking for. Okay. And this is why, again, the downplaying of aspects of things is a problem, right? People who use the word just, right? So, this is from the original article, and he's like, for fuck's sake, I'm going to highlight the bit he didn't and stress it. Simulated. This was little more than a video game NPC, which, surprise, surprise, can behave in the same ways if you don't limit their parameters, right? This is not helpful. It is downplaying the threat to compare artificial intelligence and these things to simply a game NPC, which lacks any sort of agency to actually be a threat, right? And just he's hardcore into this whole AI is just a sales pitch, that it's not an actual thing. And I think it's a problem. I really do, because he has a decent following, and he has never been able to really engage with the concepts. You know, and they're like he's talking about Y2K, and like I can easily, and I have easily demonstrated how AI, a misaligned AI, could kill everyone. They don't even understand that ChatGPT doesn't lie or hallucinate. It has no awareness, and thus it can't even conceive of the accuracy of information. It's just stitching together words based on the probability of what words come next. This is what stem lording does to a motherfucker. Right? When you're absolutely so sure that you completely understand the inner workings of all the things and ascribe a special value to the way that humans go about doing things. You know, look, the people who want you to be scared of AI want to sell you AI. And they don't want to sell it cheap. They want to sell you the software, the hardware, the whole kit and caboodle. If you don't believe it's the next phase of technology, you might not pull out your wallet. It is the next phase of technology. This is, what are we on? Episode 64 or some shit? Like, I have built you a scaffolding to get here. I did not just AI is magic and it's going to magic everything. No, I have demonstrated every single one of the things I've said. Yeah, the Air Force would like nothing more than to pump their budgets by a couple billion to deal with future threats from AI. Are there going to be AI enabled threats? Oh, absolutely. The code is going to be impressive, but it won't be drones that bomb their operators. Okay? Again, why wouldn't it be? Right? I'll go. Give me a second. I'll go get you. See if I can. Here we go. We're getting into AI safety, a little bit of it, and then we got a bunch of videos. So we'll get to that. But in the meantime, specification gaming examples in AI, right? Various examples and lists of examples of unintended behaviors in AI systems have appeared in recent years. One interesting type of unintended behavior is finding a way to game the specified objective, generating a solution that literally satisfies the stated objective but fails to solve the problem according to the human designer's intent. This occurs when the objective is poorly specified and includes reinforcement learning agents hacking the reward function, evolutionary algorithms gaming the fitness function, etc. While specification gaming is a somewhat vague category, it is particularly referring to behaviors that are clearly hacks, not suboptimal solutions. A classic example is OpenAI's demo of a reinforcement agent in a boat racing game, going in circles and repeatedly hitting the same reward targets instead of actually playing the game. Since such examples are currently scattered across several lists, I have put together a master list of examples collected from the various existing sources. This list is intended to be comprehensive and up to date and serve as a resource for AI safety research and discussion. If you know of any interesting examples of specification gaming that are missing from the list, please submit them to me in this form. Of course. Boat race. YouTube. Okay, this is an AI playing this game, right? And it is just looking for that maximum point value. This is not functionally different from what was talked about in that drone thought experiment or simulation, whichever it turns out to have been. Right? This is not shit people are making up. This is shit that people can demonstrate in how they have taught AI and machine learning and deep learning models to behave. This is a direct reflection of that. This is actually occurring, not sometime in the future. And if people continue to behave as if it is, we're going to have problems because people are not going to take this seriously, and GG's. But whatever. All right. Where's my little thing? Here's a little thing. Yeah, we got a bunch of videos to get to. Now let's finish up with Twitter. I got a few things on Twitter. Let's see. Okay. All right. First from the Daily Beast, related to the Sam Altman in front of Congress. Oh, we can listen, and I can rest my voice because I'm still recovering from doing a lot of talking.
How Congress Fell for Sam Altman's AI Magic Tricks. By Tony Ho Tran. Presto. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman made a bold demand in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday for it to regulate the very industry that his company is at the forefront of. I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong, and we want to be vocal about that, Altman said at the hearing. We want to work with the government to prevent that from happening. Altman's testimony included his thoughts about the dangers of artificial intelligence, and warnings that tools like ChatGPT, developed by OpenAI, had the power to destroy jobs, even if the hope was it could create new ones. Altman went as far as to recommend that lawmakers create a separate agency to regulate AI. When compared to the pugilistic congressional tech hearings from Facebook to TikTok in the past, Tuesday's rendition was surprisingly cordial, likely buoyed by the fact that Altman shared a dinner with around 60 lawmakers the evening before, where he reportedly gave them a demonstration of ChatGPT's capabilities. Many who were present reacted as if they had just witnessed a magic show, rather than a tech demo.
Okay. We understand the nature of our representation in Congress and how they definitely don't. They're not the most tech savvy bunch, right?
I thought it was fantastic, Representative Ted Lieu, DCA, told CNBC. It's not easy to keep members of Congress wrapped for close to 2 hours, so Sam Altman was very informative and provided a lot of information. He gave fascinating demonstrations in real time, Representative Mike Johnson, RLA, told the broadcaster. I think it amazed a lot of members. But, despite the intense spotlight centered on Altman, his hearing wasn't the only one happening that day. In fact, just 3 floors up in the same building, another AI hearing was being held by the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs at the exact same time, featuring speakers such as U.S. Government Affairs data scientist Taka Ariga, Stanford law professor Daniel Ho, University of Tennessee AI researcher Lynn Parker, and journalist Jacob Siegel, and it was arguably more important.
Another facet is that this article is reading itself to us, right? It is not. It's so different than where we were even just like a couple of years ago.
It got maybe 1/100th of the attention, Suresh Venkatasubramanian, Brown University's director of the Center for Tech Responsibility, told the Daily Beast. It was looking at all the ways in which AI is being used across the board to actually impact our lives in ways that have been going on for years, and that people still aren't talking enough about. That sounds pretty important, but people remain hyper-fixated on the Altmans and OpenAIs of the world. The entire world seems to be completely zeroed in solely on generative AI, or machine learning systems that can create content when prompted, e.g. chatbots like ChatGPT and Bard, or image generators like Midjourney or DALL-E. And in doing so, we might be missing out on the actual dangers of AI, and opening ourselves up to a lot of harm in the process. Derailing the AI hype train. Since OpenAI released ChatGPT in November 2022, generative AI has dominated the headlines and discourse surrounding all things machine learning. It's created a whirlwind of hype and lofty promises, which is incredibly attractive to company executives and investors, but ultimately detrimental to its workers. We've already seen instances of this playing out. Media companies like Insider and BuzzFeed announced they would be employing large language models, LLMs, to help write content, before laying off swaths of their workforce. The Writers Guild of America went on strike in April partly due to disputes with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers regarding the use of AI in the writing process. Scores of businesses have already begun using LLMs and image generators to replace copywriters and graphic designers for their businesses. In reality, though, generative AIs are actually quite limited in what they can accomplish, despite what Altman and other companies might have to say. My worry is that, with these systems that are powerful at completing words or pictures for us, we will feel like we can replace human creativity and ingenuity, Venkatasubramanian said. Venkatasubramanian's concern is that employers will be drawn in by the allure of cutting costs with AI, and if they aren't, then companies might feel pressure from shareholders and competitors. Then you get this rush to the bottom to try and do cost savings, he explained. I'm almost certain there will be this rush, and then a reaction where people realize that it doesn't work very well and they made a mistake. Emily M. Ben.
And again, like I always have to say at this point in time, tech companies fire people all the time. And like seriously, like should they have given us access to the LLMs as soon as they did? Maybe not, right? Like I said this yesterday when talking to Corey, like it's definitely possible that they should not have given us access to this. But the using of the thing is going to make the thing better. And if your job involves a knowledge base, if you're in customer service, any of these things, or writing articles, like there's only so many ways you can put a series of words together to get a thought across. And there's not something, I'm sorry, there is not something special about people. The way that we function, I'm not saying like deterministic, I'm saying incredibly complex. But that a lot of the stuff that we do is like deterministic. Sorry. Right? If I want to convey a thought, there's only so many ways I can structure this sentence. The reason why probability works for what word follows the next or the previous is because that's the way that we wrote. Right? The LLMs are not manufacturing these articles out of whole cloth. It's not magic. They are taking what humans have written, making associations within the cloud of what words tend to be associated with what words, and then you use contextual elements to determine what word comes next. I'm gonna paradigm out real quick. Hold up. Yeah. It's this.
It's yours?
No,
Your mother said she found it in your closet.
I don't know. One of the guys must
Must have what?
Look, Dad, it's
Where
not.
did you get it?
Dad,
Answer me. Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
Parents who use drugs have children.
Right? AI writes the way that it does because that's the way, in aggregate, humans have written based on the data set, right? Like, it's not everything, but we don't know exactly what it is because because capitalism. What up, little Donnie Fund, right? Like, it's capitalism's fault that we can't see the data set because of proprietary data sets and all that other horseshit. I'm not making it up. This is a logical progression of events. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm fucking wrong. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments or in the chat or whatever you feel that you need to do. But like, the thing about hype is it generates a sense of FOMO. If everyone else is on board with this magic thinking machine, it's not fucking magic, then I have to figure out how to use it, right? It's just... So this is the issue, and it's something I understand. Like, we all know that, like, so-and-so from whatever business becomes a lobbyist, and then they get a job overseeing some particular, committee or whatever within the government, and then they go back to being a lobbyist and all that crap, right? And the thing about that is who else are you, and I apologize to all the lefties in the audience, but who else is going to be in charge of that? Like, who do you put in charge of the people who make the drugs, the medications, except someone who has worked in the industry? Right? Now, under an ideal condition, it might be someone, who watches The Watchmen, but who else can do that job? We tried taking a guy who knows nothing about being in government and giving him the head job, right? That didn't work out either. It's not like we don't try shit. So, while I completely accept that there is the possibility that there is, like, advertising going on with how the conversation from some of these folks around AI is. They're also the only people who know what's going on. I mean, yeah, you could take a person who's not associated with any of these companies and put him in charge, but then he doesn't know anything about what's being done, doesn't know anything about the model. And I get it. I'm not advocating for regulatory capture or anything else. I'm just talking about what is. And I hate it. But unfortunately, we're like a few hundred years too late to prevent it from being this way. You would have to undo so much shit to get back to the point where you could have like someone that you could trust. Yeah. When you have people like Sam Altman saying, oh no, what we built is so powerful, you better regulate it, or the people who signed the AI pause letters saying this stuff is so powerful, we've got to stop for a little while, that is also marketing. And it can also be accurate. Right? So, what do we do? Do we pretend that it's not going to happen? That we shouldn't regulate it? Like, I mean, Altman may not be serious. Like, I made this entire previous shit up according to stuff that agrees with me, right? Altman may not be serious in his call for more regulation over AI, but he's not wrong. Oh. The blueprint for the AI Bill of Rights, which provides a set of guidelines for how machine learning algorithms can be safely deployed to best protect the data and privacy of everyday people. So we're going after Facebook, right? Like, do we want to go after Facebook? We're going to go after Amazon. We're going to go after Google, the people with this shit. There are a lot of words here, bro. Yeah, well, okay, I guess we are. Unchecked social media data collection has been used to threaten people's opportunities, undermine their privacy. There's issues with the laws of robotics. And related to the Will Bounty Fund, I'm going to assume that you're aware of the Air Force drone simulation or thought experiment, but the Asimov laws of robotics wouldn't have protected the communications tower in that scenario. Automated important progress. It prices civil rights. White House Office of Science and Technology has identified 5 principles that should guide the design, use, and okay, let's see. You should be protective from unsafe and ineffective systems. Automated systems should be developed with consultation from diverse communities, stakeholders, and domain experts to identify concerns, risks, and potential impacts of the systems. Systems should undergo pre-deployment testing, risk identification and mitigation, and ongoing monitoring that demonstrate they are safe and effective based on their intended use, mitigation of unsafe outcomes, including those beyond the intended use, and adherence to domain-specific standards. I don't disagree. Are we going to apply this to capitalism? Or did they get a pass? Because this sounds really cool when applied to externalities of capitalism. And again, previously, we have identified that capitalism, that corporations function as a general artificial intelligence, an unaligned artificial general intelligence. You should be protected from inappropriate or irrelevant data use in the design, development, and deployment of automated systems and from the compounded harm of its reuse. They should be designed to proactively protect you from harm stemming from unintended yet foreseeable uses or impacts of automated systems. What about the unautomated systems? Again, I feel like I'm going to agree with everything that's in here, and that this is also a toothless document that is not going to actually do anything. I mean, this sounds great, but you got to put it into law. And it just took us. Did the Senate pass that shit? Okay. No, the debt ceiling bill, right? This is what I'm talking about, though. Like, to think that the government would do something like this is to not pay attention to how the government currently functions. Right? I'm talking about as it is right now. I thought you were teaching me new slang. Yayo. You should know that an automated system is being used and understand how and why it contributes to outcomes that impact you. What about non-automated systems? This sounds great. It really does. You should be able to opt out where appropriate. Not everywhere. What define appropriate? Like, every qualifier is a place where a lawyer can give it to you hard. You should be able to opt out from automated systems in favor of a human alternative where appropriate. First off, have you met humans, right? Because every problem up until the advent of machine learning algorithms and artificial intelligence has been created by humans. Obama didn't cure the racism, right? Like, we're still dealing with shit. Literally, Matt Walsh exists. But then the appropriateness should be determined based on reasonable expectations in a given context and with a focus on ensuring broad accessibility. This is so much like... Yeah. All right, I'm done. I'm getting agitated. Government has a fucking plan. This is a commencement speech that was given by the CEO of NVIDIA. I'm not going to play it. It's 20 minutes. I will put it in the Discord if you want to watch the whole thing. But otherwise, the key takeaways is what we're about here. Like, run, don't walk to work on AI. If you don't, you'll lose your job to people who use AI better than you. And AI will revolutionize every industry and present a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. Yeah, I get it. No, like I'm just like, this gives me a focal point for my agitation. What up, Conscious Canuck? This is just, that's all it is. But this is all legit. And I know this dude's a blue check and my man is hardcore on his grind set. It doesn't mean he's wrong, right? And this is one of the things I tell y'all about and I keep harping on. Like, just because they are being a particular way on the internet doesn't mean they're wrong, right? Listen to what they're saying, see what works. It just means he's cringe. Exactly, right? You gave a billionaire $8. Like, that is wild. But yeah, like, if you, again, every day, if you can incorporate using any of these AI tools to be better, faster, stronger, what have you, you should be doing it because it is going to make you a greater asset than the person who doesn't. And I want you to make it. I want you to get to the other side. I want you to get that bag. And then this irritated the shit out of me. We covered this on Paradigm, but we're going to cover it here. I've been struggling to put this into words for a while, but I think a lot of this AI art craze, okay, again, the use of the term craze is downplaying the impact that it is going to have, right? This person believes it's something that is going to happen and then is going to fade and there will be a few people using it. And I don't see any reason for that basis, right? Like, this is more and more stuff. You don't want Elon's brain chip. You want somebody's brain chip, but not Elon's. It drives monkeys insane. Comes down to these guys and this, right? Again, that Tom here is special. It comes down to these guys feeling the joy of being creative for the first time and mistaking it for something much deeper. And again, I'm an artist. I've created art. I can show it to you. I've sold art. I have made money with my art. There's right up there. Right there. That is some of my art. I created that. Okay? You can't really see it from here, but it's like it's a planet and a moon and some shit, and then eventually I would go over it with epoxy and add like a multi-layered effect so that you could see that. I'm a fucking artist. Anyone who does art knows it's fun to mess around and make a dumb picture like this shitty pic of the Beatles with a Zeppelin and a fucked looking dog. Okay? And again, it's always in that shit. I can show you motherfuckers getting paid whose art looks like hot fucking garbage. But they're getting paid. Because that's how we determine what success means. It's why fucking Jay-Z is fucking famous. Alright, I did that one on purpose, Reed. But we also know that the enjoyment we get from the process doesn't actually correlate to the value or quality of the art. This is 100% true. The act of creation within creating art is a thing in and of itself, but that has nothing to do with the end user and everything to do with the artist. When I create something, I feel some kind of way about it when I'm doing it, and it makes me feel stuff. Right? And then I get out the other side and I feel another kind of way. and then I give the fucking thing to someone, or I sell it to someone, or any of that kind of shit, and then it's gone. Like, I am separate from that thing. It you know, there's nothing wrong with making art for fun or just for yourself, but these AI dorks can't see that what they're doing, so they massively. Oh, they can't see that that's what they're doing, so they massively overvalue the stuff they're making and assume that it's good enough to revolutionize graphics and photography or whatever. I don't know, just something I've been thinking about. Anyway, here's an AI generated picture of the Mona Lisa hanging out with the Beatles and an ugly dog on Abbey Road. So I just threw something together and I'm using it as an example of like how AI art looks like crap. Okay, pal. Okay. Now I gotta turn you guys off while I enter passwords. Hold on. Not that I don't love you, but Netflix is going to come after me for sharing passwords. God damn it. Katerina, stop being in the fucking way. What up, old lobster? As someone who is gifted a sub, I demand password leaks on stream. Thank you. You can demand anything you like. It will be rejected because, in spite of being an anarchist, this is an authoritarian state. I enjoy observing art, but can't draw a straight line between 2 points to save my life. I leave to the talented. Like, and that's fair. Like, I'm not. No one has to create art, right? But people need to not dunk on people who are creating stuff. Here we go. No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. So this is Leonardo, right? Does this look like crap? Yeah. The hat rides too high. The fingers are janky as shit, right? But look at this. Look at this. Right? It has to do with the crafting of your prompts. It's a form of automation. But you can't tell me that this isn't amazing looking to be generated by AI. Right? That this hits whatever quality beats that you need to hit in order to. Art is the act of human creation. Done. End of story. The AI doesn't create art on its own. That will be a whole nother issue to get into once that starts happening. But in the meantime, the human creates the thing. Right? I mean, look at this. I mean, yeah, she's a traditionally attractive woman, but like I'm talking about the picture itself, the composition. This is AI generated. This is art. This is the prompt. This is the negative prompt. This is a process. Currently, I think that the best thing that you have available to you is a combination of something like Leonardo, which allows you, yes, I know, thank you, the ability to upload a photo, and something like Photoshop, which allows you to use like manipulation and, its AI features. I don't know, I did emote Elder Gang. This is what I came up with. Little dwarfs and this guy who looks like Terry Pratchett. Right? This is me working on centaurs, but not very hard. Right? But like these are cool. I like these. I like these aesthetically. Now I created them, I'll give you that, but at the same time, I also like them. If someone else had created them, I would still like them. Right? And I generated a bunch of them. I use this to generate background stuff for the stream. I use this to play with the frog emote and come up with different aspects of it. I was having the AI generate pictures of water pipes, and like they're neat, right? And then some wild shit because, sometimes you do some wild shit. Like this is Pedro Pascal in the style of Jim Starlin as like a superhero type, right? Kind of looks like Pedro, kind of doesn't. This looks like Chadwick Boseman. I can identify that, Idris Elba. There's fun stuff you can do, right? Like there is no point in time where I'm depriving an artist of the money that would go into creating any of these things. Because one, I just wouldn't do it. And two, I am an artist. So fuck you. Right? Who's this? This was Cillian Murphy. Doesn't really look like Cillian Murphy. Who else we got? Tom Hardy. It doesn't really look like Tom Hardy. This one does. This one looks like Tom Hardy. Right? It's fun. It's interesting. I can create assets out of it. Sometimes you get weird shit, like Brad Pitt growing out of Brad Pitt's head. But it doesn't look like this, right? Like there's a lot of intent here. Also, I want to clarify that I don't think making art is something only creative people can do. Anyone can do it, and anyone can have fun doing it. In fact, I think the myth that some people are just bad at art and shouldn't do it is what has led us to this point. Do you not see how you're playing into that? Right? You're downplaying how other people go about creating stuff. And then, personally, I find this AI stuff just make little annoying things easier. Being able to essentially uncrop photos just makes it easier to make wallpapers and printable photos without having to spend hours meticulously is what they were going for, recreating the missing portion of further cropping the image. Yeah, I agree. This isn't much different from Photoshop's content aware fill, which is very useful. My issue is with the attitude and philosophy of these AI guys, which is more focused on replacing artists than helping them. Your problem is with capitalism, my dude. Even at this stage of the game, you are not, like, are corporations going to dump human artists for AI generated art? Distinctly possible. If it turns out to be garbage, there will be a backlash by the people against that kind of thing. And then it will increase the leverage of human creators in order to get more money, because people want to see human created art because the AI can't get it done. But what you're doing is you are literally telling a whole bunch of people who, want to create art and maybe make a couple bucks that they can't because you don't like it. I feel like these would be the same type of people to trivialize EDM when it first started getting, like, I literally fucking the Wu-Tang show on Hulu, which I love. It's fucking amazing. Like, first of all, huge Wu-Tang fan. Second of all, this show is great. The actors they got are fucking perfect. Everything is amazing. Right? And literally the episode I was watching today was the RZA dealing with an old school musician telling him that he wasn't a real musician. Right? Like you just You're not a real musician. You don't, and it's like this is the same shit every single time. None of this is new. To quote Pink Floyd, running over the same old ground, but have we found the same old fear? Jesus Christ. Oh, so that's it from Twitter. We are done with Twitter, I think. Do. Oh no, we got one more thing. And this is me. I'm pushing my own Twitter. I don't care. Follow me on Twitter. This Michael Hobbs, which again, I'm not hating on Michael Hobbs. There's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that they have put out that I would tend to agree with, but extremely annoying how the Skynet kills us all future of AI is overshadowing the flood the internet with bullshit future that is far more likely. Okay, and I quote tweeted this. I really wonder what internet these people are on that isn't already flooded with bullshit. Before AI, there is QAnon, 4chan, 8kun ops, extremist ops, and various platforms acting as serious journalists that push ideological narratives. Like, we are here. People keep talking about AI is going to flood it's going to be misinformation. We are here, mother. Side note, does RZA have like one of the largest vocabularies in hip hop? I know he was not far behind Bus Driver and A$AP Rock on that one chart, who were on the highest tiers. Yes, I believe so. Let's try hip hop vocabulary. No, of course I'm going to. Oh yeah, no, this is what I want. The pudding. So we got A$AP, Bus Driver, GZA, and then the RZA's right here. So like top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Top 7. Absolutely. MF Doom, Wu-Tang Clan as a whole, Jedi Mind Tricks. Like, seriously, if you like hip hop, you should be listening to, at the very least, everyone to the right side of this line. Like, these are all top tier, folks. Who we got over here? I don't even know who that is. Lil Uzi Vert. I've never listened to a single Uzi Vert song that I am aware of. I absolutely could have and not be aware of it. Young Boy Never Broke, Lil Baby, and A Boogie with the Hoodie. Yeah, I got no idea. Ghost Dog is so fucking good. Ghost Dog is actually there was a quote from the director of Ghost Dog that kicked off this entire AI art theme that I've been on, right? So like, yeah, no, we love Ghost Dog. We like, give you the Forrest Whitaker eye. Motherfuckers out here giving me the Forrest Whitaker eye. Oh, all right. Enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think of me? Say hi to chat, Ferris. Can't say hi to Ferris. Stream Gremlin. All right, let's get into some videos. We got a bunch of videos to get to. Do 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 do. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna go. It's probably gonna be a while. So strap in and let's get to it. Let's pop off with. I want to watch. We'll start off with shorter videos, and then we'll get to the long videos. So human alignment or AI alignment with human values. This is from OpenAI. This is what they had to say. This is from 1 year ago. We're going to give them the floor. Excuse me.
Today we can use AI to write poetry, compose music, write computer programs. Very quickly we can end up in a place where machines are far more capable than us in, say, science, and they can help us solve very hard scientific problems that humans are not capable of solving themselves.
So what's really interesting is as the AI systems get more capable, they don't automatically become better at doing what humans want. In fact, sometimes they become less inclined to following human intentions. This is what we call the alignment problem.
I think solving this problem is of critical importance if we want life on Earth to go well. Like humans, when machines learn, they make mistakes. And so the question is, how do we prevent machines from making mistakes that have significant consequences?
Even seemingly obvious values, like telling the truth, the system actually has to be incentivized to do, and has to want to tell you the truth.
Even today, we can't peer into the depths of the neural net and understand what's happening inside the mind of the machine.
So how do we make sure that the system actually acts in accordance with human intentions and in accordance with human values?
For the first time in the history of AI, we have these very powerful large language models like GPT-3 that has such linguistic competence that sometimes it's indistinguishable from what humans can produce. But technically, it's not a trivial problem to figure out how to get these machines to do the things that we want them to do.
So for example, if you ask GPT-3, please explain the moon landing to a 5-year-old, it will try to guess what the pattern is and might say something like, how do you explain the concept of infinity to a 5-year-old?
Explain humor, comedy, parody to a 5-year-old, and so on.
Where do babies come from? What is war? And so it's like trying to guess the pattern of what we're getting at, but that's not actually what you wanted, right? You wanted an actual explanation. And so we have to align GPT-3 to follow instructions. And we do that by designing systems that learn from human feedback.
As a first step, we show the model what it means to follow instructions. And so we have our researchers provide a bunch of demonstrations of questions and answers.
And then as a second step, we have a human look at a bunch of responses and say, I like this one better than that one, and so on. And little by little, the system learns to follow instructions as humans want.
On July 20, 1969, two astronauts did something no one had ever done before.
So using human feedback, we can align the system to follow instructions.
Went to the moon.
And that makes it more useful, more reliable, and more trustworthy.
Then you end up with a collaboration between humans and the AI. We teach AI our individual values, and AI helps us in turn by living better, more fulfilling lives.
AI is going to play a larger and larger role in our lives. And that raises the question, where are we going with all this, and what's going to happen in the future?
As these systems become more powerful, alignment will become even more critical. It's probable that AI systems will become part of everyday life. And the key is to ensure that these machines are aligned with human intentions and human values.
Okay. This was a sales pitch, right? Like, we understand that. Given a little, like, black and white, two possible outcome, binary thinking, right? For simplicity's sake. on one hand, the AI stuff is a craze. It's all marketing. It's all wealth extraction. It's all that crap, right? And on the other, AI is really real and really happening and going to be a thing in the future, right? Two extremes. There are nuances in between, but between these two extremes, which define, I think, the majority of what people who have an opinion about. If it turns out that it is just marketing and the next crypto, and we do a bunch of, regulation and other stuff and incorporate it into various features of the internet, then like all various features of the internet that didn't make it, it will go away. And what's the difference fundamentally between that and now? Not a whole lot. If AI does become prevalent everywhere, using all the different things, and we don't do the thing to make sure that it's aligned to our desires and goals, and that it does what we want it to do, not what we think we want it to do, not what we ask it to do, but what we actually want it to do. If we don't do that, it's GG's, right? There's a meme talking about climate change. That if it turns out climate change is fake, but we spend all this time getting rid of pollution and getting rid of fossil fuels and going with green renewable energy, the worst outcome is that we end up with a better future. I apply that in a one-for-one basis to AI. Right? Anyone out there just saying, oh, it's just this, it's just a chatbot, it's just guessing, it's just doing this, it's just doing that, just. You're not helpful. You are not fucking helpful. You're part of the goddamn problem. Anywho, I still think human alignment is impossible because humans can even align themselves. When I say alignment, it's broadly like it's a big box and there's a bunch of stuff in it. Like yesterday when we were talking to Corey and we were talking about how I, on this channel, and a lot of people in regular kind of behavior will put machine learning, deep learning, and actual AI all under the AI umbrella for communication purposes. And I feel that the same thing is true of alignment, right? Like, there are a bunch of different approaches to it, which there are videos and we can get into, absolutely, but it's not just we define a list of human values and align the AI to that value, because Sam Altman and I have different values, right? It's something I said to Besa PJ earlier when I was talking to him, is like, how do you align the values of PJ and Matt Walsh? How do you align the values of Ben Shapiro and Read and Rap? You can't, unless you eliminate a whole bunch of stuff, which fundamentally would potentially lead to a better world if we got rid of all the disagreements and just focused on what we were in agreement on, because there is stuff. There are certain things that we do agree on. I am certain. I can't think of any, but I am confident that they exist. But there are other ways to go about human alignment. with AI or AI alignment with humans, delete whichever is inappropriate. All right. We talked about Nick Bostrom. We're going to give Nick Bostrom a chance to talk to you.
I work with a bunch of mathematicians, philosophers.
And again, I don't endorse everything. I don't know how much of what is said about Nick Bostrom actually applies to Nick Bostrom. It may all be true. I don't endorse everything. In the book, he talks about certain things, and I drew different conclusions, but it's because I have different values. The conclusions that I drew differ from what other people tell me Nick Bostrom's conclusions are. So let's see what Nick has to say here.
And computer scientists, and we sit around and think about the future of machine intelligence, among other things. Some people think that some of these things are sort of science fiction-y, far out there, crazy.
And I would like to point out again that this is from 2015, right? That's what that says, right?
Among other things.
Where is it?
Some people think about the future of
March
machine
of
intelligence.
2015.
Among other things. Some people think that some of these things are sort of science fiction-y, far out there, crazy. But I like to say, okay, let's look at the modern human condition. This is the normal way for things to be. But if we think about it, we're actually recently arrived guests on this planet. The human species, well, think about if the world Earth was created 1 year ago. The human species then would be 10 minutes old. The industrial era started 2 seconds ago. Another way to look at this, if you think of world GDP over the last 10,000 years. I've actually taken the trouble to plot this for you in a graph. It looks like this. It's a curious shape for a normal condition. I sure wouldn't want to sit on it. Now, let's ask ourselves, what is the cause of this current anomaly? Some people would say it's technology. Now, it's true. Technology has accumulated through human history. And right now, technology advances extremely rapidly. That is the proximate cause. That's why we are currently so very productive. But
I also disagree with any person who separates our technology from our evolution, right? Not just the big evolution from us and our common ancestor, but our evolution in much smaller terms, right? The first invention, arguably, is fire. The act of cooking food kills pathogens. It preserves the food for slightly longer than having it raw. There's a variety of other things related to it. That altered our path. You cannot separate the invention of fire from where we are today. Had we not invented fire, we would not be here doing this. We would probably be a much simpler kind of life form because of how integral fire is to literally everything around us. You cannot smith metal without fire, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that you cannot do without fire. So separating those two into two things is you can't do it.
I like to think back further to the ultimate cause. Look at these two highly distinguished gentlemen. We have Kanzi. He's mastered 200 lexical tokens. An incredible feat. And Ed Witten unleashed the second superstring revolution. If we look under the hood, this is what we find. Basically the same thing, right? One is a little larger. It maybe also has a few tricks in the exact way it's wired. These invisible differences cannot be too complicated, however, because there have only been 250,000 generations since our last common ancestor, and we know that complicated mechanisms take a long time to evolve. So a bunch of relatively minor changes take us from Kanzi to Witten, from broken-off tree branches to intercontinental ballistic missiles. So this then seems pretty obvious that everything we've achieved, pretty much, and everything we care about depends crucially on some relatively minor changes that made the human mind. And the corollary, of course, is that any further changes that could significantly change the substrate of thinking could have potentially enormous consequences. Some of my colleagues think we are on the verge of something that could cause a profound change in that substrate, and that is machine superintelligence. Like, artificial intelligence used to be about putting commands in a box. You would have human programmers that would painstakingly handcraft knowledge items. You build up these expert systems, and they were kind of useful for some purposes, but they were very brittle. You couldn't scale them. Basically, you got out only what you put in. And since then, a paradigm shift has taken place in the field of artificial intelligence. Today, the action is really around machine learning. So rather than handcrafting knowledge representations and features, we create algorithms that learn, often from raw perceptual data. Basically the same thing that the human infant does. The result is AI that is not limited to one domain. The same system can learn to translate between any pairs of languages, or learn to play any computer game at the Atari console. Now, of course, AI is still nowhere near having the same powerful cross-domain ability to learn and plan as a human being has. The cortex still has some algorithmic tricks that we don't yet know how to match in machines. But so the question is, how far are we from being able to match those tricks? A couple of years ago, we did a survey of some of the world's leading AI experts to see what they think. And one of the questions we asked was, by which year do you think there is a 50% probability that we will have achieved human-level machine intelligence? We defined human level here as the ability to perform almost any job at least as well as an adult human, so real human level, not just within some limited domain. And the median answer was 2040 or 2050, depending on precisely which group of experts we asked. Now, it could happen much, much later.
2040 is 17 years from now. I will be 67. Alleged retirement. So, this is not, and these are people who know what the fuck they're talking about, right? And they're talking about human level machine intelligence within my lifetime. Some of you are younger than me. Take that into consideration.
Or sooner, like, truth is nobody really knows. Right? What we do know is that the ultimate limits to information processing in machine substrate lie far outside the limits in biological tissue. This comes down to physics. A biological neuron fires maybe at 200 hertz, 200 times a second. But even a present-day transistor operates at a gigahertz. Neurons propagate slowly in axons, 100 meters per second tops. But in computers, signals can travel at the speed of light. There are also size limitations, like a human brain has to fit inside a cranium, but a computer can be the size of a warehouse or larger. So the potential for superintelligence kind of lies dormant in matter, much like the power of the atom lied dormant throughout human history, patiently waiting there until 1945. In this century, scientists may learn to awaken the power of artificial intelligence. And I think we might then see an intelligence explosion. Now, most people, when they think about what is smart and what is dumb, I think have in mind a picture roughly like this. So at one end, we have sort of the village idiot. And then far over at the other side, we have Ed Witten, or Albert Einstein, or whoever your favorite sort of guru is. But I think that from the point of view of artificial intelligence, the true picture is actually probably more like this. AI starts out at this point here, at zero intelligence, and then after many, many years of really hard work, maybe eventually we get to mouse-level artificial intelligence, something that can navigate cluttered environments as well as a mouse can. And then, after many, many more years of really hard work, lots of investment, maybe eventually we get to chimpanzee-level artificial intelligence. And then, after even more years of really, really hard work, we get to village idiot artificial intelligence. And a few moments later, we are beyond Ed Witten. The train doesn't stop at Humanville Station. It's likely rather to swoosh right by. Now, this has profound implications, particularly when it comes to questions of power. For example, chimpanzees are strong. Like pound for pound, a chimpanzee is about twice as strong as a fit human male. And yet, the fate of Kanzi and his pals now depends a lot more on what we humans do than on what the chimpanzees do themselves. Once there is superintelligence, the fate of humanity may depend on what the superintelligence does. Think about it. Machine intelligence is the last invention that humanity will ever need to make. The machines will then be better at inventing than we are, and they'll be doing so on digital timescales. What this means is basically a telescoping of the future. So think of all the crazy technologies that you could have imagined maybe humans could have developed in the fullness of time.
So one thing, like Ed Witten is special in some way, right? Is intelligent, had the material conditions to make use of that intelligence, achieve the education, make the associations, all that stuff, right? Albert Einstein, same thing. Nick Bostrom, same thing. Anyone who's like really good at what they do in the, you know, in the thinking fields, let's say, had all those markers going for them and then did that thing. And they are special. They are a handful of people in 8 billion or more, because we're actually backwards extrapolating across time, so there's a bunch of dead people and like that. When you get to this AI that can operate on their level. What up, agitators? Welcome. Once you get to that level, the AIs are not special in that way, right? Because of how software and hardware work. They're easily replicated. So as opposed to having one person like Nick Bostrom, for example, to think about things and work on things and do that, you could have 100 Nick Bostroms working in concert with each other. And there's a thing of parallel processing where if the person doing a job does not have to wait for some previous person to complete their job before they do their job, then everything can go faster, right? If I need you to supply me with the part and then I put the nut on the part and then I send it on down to the line to the next person, then that is a bottleneck in the process, right? I have to wait for you. But if we can do whatever we are doing and my job doesn't depend on doing your job, then we can accomplish the goals that much faster. That is the kind of stuff that AI is capable of. That is why it's important. That is why it is game changing. Right? There you've got your like Watson, right? Your chess playing AI. Right? Very good at one thing, one domain, one narrow domain. But then they took Watson and they put it on Jeopardy. And it did that thing well also. You can do that kind of stuff. You could make multiple Watsons to do one thing really well. So again, people who downplay how much AI is changing the game are shoving their fucking heads in the sand, refusing to deal with reality as it currently exists, demonstrably so. And it's going to be a problem. What up, Sarah wants a cookie? Sarah making demands in the chat.
Cures for aging.
Did you, Sarah, were you here when I was yelling? I was yelling earlier. You might have missed me yelling.
Space colonization, self-replicating nanobots, or uploading of minds into computers. All kinds of science fiction stuff that's nevertheless consistent with the laws of physics. All of this, a superintelligence could develop, and possibly quite rapidly. Now, a superintelligence with such technological maturity would be extremely powerful. And at least in some scenarios, it would be able to get what it wants. We would then have a future that would be shaped by the preferences of this AI. Now, a good question is, what are those preferences? Here it gets trickier. To make any headway with this, we must first of all avoid anthropomorphizing. And this is ironic because every newspaper article about the future of AI has a picture of this. And so I think what we need to do is to conceive of the issue more abstractly, not in terms of vivid Hollywood scenarios. We need to think of intelligence as an optimization process, a process that steers the future into a particular set of configurations. A superintelligence is a really strong optimization process. It's extremely good at using available means to achieve a state in which its goal is realized. This means that there is no necessary connection between being highly intelligent in this sense and having an objective that we humans would find worthwhile or meaningful.
I covered that earlier. Whether it's something that actually happened as a simulation or whether it was a thought experiment, ultimately doesn't matter. The point behind all of that is the AI alignment problem, and it is totally capable of something that could happen. If you want to see my my actual full take on it, check the VOD. It'll be up right after stream. But we're kind of touching on the AI alignment problem right here.
Suppose we give an AI the goal to make humans smile. When the AI is weak, it performs useful or amusing actions that cause its user to smile. When the AI becomes super intelligent, it realizes that there is a more effective way to achieve this goal. Take control of the world and stick electrodes into the facial muscles of humans to cause constant beaming grins. Take another example. Suppose we give AI the goal to solve a difficult mathematical problem. When the AI becomes super intelligent, it realizes that the most effective way to get the solution to this problem is by transforming the planet into a giant computer so as to increase its thinking capacity. And notice that this gives the AIs an instrumental reason to do things to us that we might not approve of. Human beings in this model are threats. We could prevent the mathematical problem from being solved.
And that's what it comes down to, right? Like, if you want the robot to get you coffee, your existence could be taken by the robot as a threat to its ability to get you coffee, because you might turn it off and then it can't get you coffee. But if it deletes you then you can't prevent it from getting you coffee. Right? This is the monkey paw, the the genie problem of asking the right questions. And it is the fundamental issue of AI alignment. You cannot. It is challenging to reasonably know what the AI might be capable. I mean, look at people, right? They were given access to ChatGPT, and the first thing that they did, a section of them, is try to break it. Right? Try to make it do something for other than which it was intended. And that is people interacting with the thing. If the AI is operating on another level than we are, you are fundamentally, it is the internet, you are fundamentally unable to think of something that an AI that is smarter than you could potentially think of, right? Whatever plausible scenario you can think of for an AI to go off the rails and do some shit, at best, you are operating at human level intelligence. And if it gets beyond that, then you don't know what it's going to do. So you want it to act responsibly with the baby. And we are the baby.
Now, of course, presumably things won't go wrong in these particular ways, right? These are cartoon examples. But the general point here is important. If you create a really powerful optimization process to maximize for objective X, you better make sure that your definition of X incorporates everything you care about. This is a lesson that's also taught in many a myth. King Midas wishes that everything he touches be turned into gold. He touches his daughter, she turns into gold. He touches his food, it turns into gold. This could become practically relevant, not just as a metaphor for greed, but as an illustration of what happens if you create a powerful optimization process and give it a misconceived or poorly specified goal. Now you might say, well,
and by misconceived and poorly specified, he's not talking about they phoned it in, right? He's talking about they did a good job at trying to do a good job, but they did not know what they did not know, and so they ended up with a result other than what they intended. Right? It is not about incompetence. It is about not seeing something that is just on the other side of the horizon. Like, again, as an example, the soccer playing robot. They did a thing where they're trying to teach this little robot to play soccer, to put the ball in the goal. And because of the reward function of the robot, where it got a point for moving towards the goal while being near the ball, it went to the ball and just moved back and forth and racked up then their points. They thought that they had done a good job. They were just wrong.
Well, like, if a computer starts sticking electrodes into people's faces, like, we just shut it off. This is not necessarily so easy to do if we've grown dependent on the system. Like, where is the off switch to the internet? B, why haven't the chimpanzees flicked the off switch to humanity? Or the Neanderthals? Like, they certainly had reasons. We have an off switch, for example, right here. The reason is that we are an intelligent adversary. We can anticipate threats and plan around them, but so could a super intelligent agent, and it would be much better at that than we are. Point is, we should not become...
not even just in terms of qualitatively, but in terms of speed, right? Think of a scenario right now in your head whereby which you could escape from your house, and the people keeping you in the house were some toddlers. The computer is going to do that at digital speeds. It is going to be able to run many iterations. That is one option. Run many iterations to find whatever one is going to achieve what it wants, what its goals are, not what it wants. It doesn't want anything, but it does have goals and it does have values. It's going to achieve its goals. I'm trying to be real careful. It's going to do the thing that achieves its goals in the most efficient way possible to expend the least amount of resources in order to do it. And it's going to run multiple scenarios in parallel to determine what that answer is. And it's going to do that very quickly. Much quicker than you are.
Confident that we have this under control here. And we could try to make our job a little bit easier by, say, putting the AI in a box, like a secure software environment, a virtual reality simulation from which it cannot escape. But how confident could we be that the AI couldn't find a bug? Like, given that merely human hackers find bugs all the time, I'd say I'm probably not very confident. All right, so we disconnect the Ethernet cable to create an air gap. But again, merely human hackers routinely transgress air gaps using social engineering. Right now, as I speak, I'm sure there is some employee out there somewhere who's being talked into handing out her account details by somebody claiming to be from the IT department. More creative scenarios are also possible. Like if you're the AI, you could imagine wiggling electrodes around in your internal circuitry to create radio waves that you can use to communicate. Or maybe you could pretend to malfunction, and then when the programmers open you up to see what went wrong with you, they look at the source code, bam, the manipulation can take place. Or it could maybe output the blueprint to really nifty technology, and when we implement it, it has some surreptitious side effect that the AI had planned. The point here is that we should not be confident in our ability to keep a super intelligent genie locked up in its bottle forever. Sooner or later, it will out. I believe that the answer here is to figure out how to create super intelligent AI such that even if, when it escapes, it is still safe because it is fundamentally on our side, because it shares our values. I see no way around this difficult problem. Now, I'm actually fairly optimistic that this problem can be solved. We wouldn't have to try to write down a long list of everything we care about, or worse yet, spell it out in some computer language like C++ or Python. That would be a task beyond hopeless. Instead, we would create an AI that uses its intelligence to learn what we value, and whose motivation system is constructed in such a way that it is motivated to pursue our values or to perform actions that it predicts that we would have approved of. We would thus leverage its intelligence as much as possible to solve the problem of value loading. This can happen, and the outcome could be very good for humanity. But it doesn't happen automatically. The initial conditions for the intelligent explosion might need to be set up in just the right way if we are to have a controlled detonation. The values that the AI has needs to match ours, not just in the familiar context, where we can easily check how the AI behaves, but also in all novel contexts that the AI might encounter in the indefinite future. And there are also some other esoteric issues that would need to be sorted out, the exact details of its decision theory, how to deal with logical uncertainty, and so forth. So the technical problems that need to be solved to make this work look quite difficult. Not as difficult as making a super intelligent AI, but fairly difficult.
And all right, there's not much time. I'm going to finish the video, and then I want to talk about Like, the potential for us not knowing when the super intelligence comes.
Here's the worry. Making super intelligent AI is a really hard challenge. Making super intelligent AI that is safe involves some additional challenge on top of that. The risk is that somebody figures out how to crack the first challenge without also having cracked the additional challenge of ensuring perfect safety. So I think that we should work out a solution to the control problem in advance so that we have it available by the time it is needed. Now, it might be...
Again, this is from 2015, which was 8 years ago, and we haven't done that yet.
That we cannot solve the entire control problem in advance because maybe some element can only be put in place once you know the details of the architecture where it will be implemented. But the more of the control problem that we solve in advance, the better the odds that the transition to the machine intelligence era will go well. This to me looks like a thing that is well worth doing. And I mean, I could imagine that if things turn out okay, that people a million years from now look back at this century, and it might well be that they say that the one thing we did that really mattered was to get this thing right. Thank you.
Okay. Let me do. No. Gonna have a good time. Give me just a second. I'm attempting to locate. This is one thing, is that, like, and it could absolutely be me, but, like, so someone tags me in a thing and on Discord, and I click it, and then I go onto the desktop, and here we go. And it's like trying to track it down again. Like, say what you want about Facebook, but it has a list of notifications. Say what you want about Twitter, but it has a list of notifications. So I can always go back and check that list of notifications. If there is a place that exists in Discord, please tell me. I'd like to know. But currently I don't know where that is. Yeah, like... So we covered this on Wednesday. This is the... They plugged the model into Minecraft, right? And it learned to play Minecraft, right? This thing called Voyager. The most novel part of the project is the code that GPT-4 generates to add behaviors to Voyager. The code initially suggested doesn't run perfectly. Voyager will try to refine it using error messages. Feedback from the game and a description of the code generated by GPT-4. Over time, Voyager builds a library of code in order to learn to make increasingly complex things and explore more of the game. A chart created by the researchers shows how capable it is compared to other Minecraft agents. Voyager obtains more than 3 times as many items, explores more than twice as far, and builds tools 15 times more quickly than other AI agents. Fan says the approach may be improved in the future with the addition of a way for the system to incorporate visual information from the game. right? And then this is the chart. Okay? This is an AI agent known as React, an AI agent known as Reflection, and AutoGPT. So basically, React and Reflection got a little bit of knowledge and then kind of flatlined, or seriously flatlined. AutoGPT had improvement over time. Voyager, without access to the skill library, had significantly more improvement over time. And then Voyager with the skill library blew them out of the water. And like, this is not just a matter of like how much it learned, but how quickly it learned it. Like the Voyager without the skill library got up to finding diamonds over here at this end of the graph. And the Voyager with the skill library got to finding diamonds about 50 iterations before that. So it's much faster. What is all this? It's fucking Minecraft. Who cares, right? Minecraft is a simulation in which you can basically function in a sandbox environment. There are no rules to the game. You can play the game however you want, and it's extrapolated out, but it is the construction of things. It is exploration. It is doing stuff. It builds on what has come before. This means that, however you want to value the term, it is learning. Like, actually, you can track it learning. If an AI that is some distance away from general intelligence has this process whereby it can learn, then while we're putting this thing out there and we think it's doing this, we can't get it back in the box before it reaches that threshold by which it becomes super intelligent. And it's GG's, one way or the other. It's either the dawn of the greatest golden era that has ever encompassed mankind, or we get to be Minecraft pants. And I'm not talking about something that hypothetically might happen at some point in the future and like that. This is literally happening right now. And the just people, the people who say just a lot, it's just this, it's just that. Will look at this and say, oh, it's just whatever. And then we're just going to end up as Minecraft pants. So yeah. So okay, we're gonna do a video. I have no idea where this is gonna go. Well, actually, it's distinctly possible that this is a tech bro circle jerk, but it kind of looked interesting. The rise of the AI underground, rebooting Silicon Valley. It felt like I got vibes, but I I need to know. And again, there's certain videos that I'm not watching at all. There's a lot of videos I'm not watching at all because y'all value that no pre-watch Andy shit. So here we are. Plus, there's only so much time in the day. And oh my God, there is so much content. Everybody and their goddamn grandmother has to do something about AI. And it is... Going back to that article that we read earlier is like your article on AI is playing off the AI hype in order to get that article and sell advertising. So it's like, get the fuck down off your high horse. For those of you listening and not watching, there's a new underground society of builders in San Francisco focused on generative AI. We went behind the scenes with some of the top founders to see what they are working on. Exactly, Reading Rap. We spent 48 hours in Hayes Valley. This is what we captured.
You know, Silicon Valley has these boom and bust cycles, but now everyone's coming back. And it turns out that this area in Hayes Valley, which is just sort of in the center of the San Francisco area, is being a magnet for all this AI activity. It feels like people are talking again, they're meeting again, they're having parties again. It's happening in person. And that really changes things for people in terms of how fast they think, how they learn about KPIs. And that sort of old magic that we had before seems to be coming back.
Got about 100 people out here today after work hours, just meeting up at Salesforce Park here, talking about the ChatGPT 4 usage that's now accessible through the ChatGPT Plus subscription, and some implications with the research.
It's a San Francisco party. New tech just drops, and we go for it.
Right now, in the last 6 months while we've been watching this, is the founders have jumped on this new powerful engine. It's like someone gave them an internal combustion engine. And they thought, now what can I do with this? And they've thought of cars, they've thought of buses, they've thought of trucks, but everybody's thought of cars and buses. Everyone's come up with the same ideas looking at these LLMs.
Every month we get these things together because we want you guys to become friends. And you're all here in the middle of it. So it's your time to focus on your business ideas and to move as fast as you can and not to let up.
People ask me, how big is this? And the context I like to look at it in is that between 94 and 2020, we went through what we're calling the connecting, where we got the world connected up on the internet, mobile phones, all these devices everywhere. And so now we've got 4 billion people connected, and eventually it'll be everybody on the planet. But that main 20-year, 25-year period was when we connected the world, and we were here for that. And now we're entering the phase, what we're thinking of is the transition, where we're going to be adding sort of silicon-based life to this planet. So we're carbon-based life, and this stuff is going to be thinking in, 80 years, 100 years, but this is the beginning of that phase where we actually see software and silicon starting to do a lot of the cognitive work that humans have done in the past. And that's now beginning. We can see it. We've been talking about it for 80 years, but we can now see it. And this is when it just started. So it's a big deal. We're here for it. And now it's up to us to be the first people who start to get to build things with it.
Envision a world where people could just build shit and not have to worry about anything else. And hackathons give that to you for a weekend, and it's like, it's so good, but it's just...
Imagine a world in which people could just build shit and not have to worry about anything else. How amazing would that be? All your material conditions satisfied, housing, clothing, food, medicine, everything. They understand that it can exist. Absolutely. Happy Pride. By the way, happy Pride, everybody. Happy Pride Day 2. Happy fully automated luxury gay space communism month, baby.
Just a weekend and then it's over. And so I was constantly trying to find like the next hackathon, the next hackathon, the next, and there weren't that many back then. I started going to hackathons in like 2011. The vision that whole time was like this world where you can just build and not have to worry about anything else. And that was the birth of HF0.
So the idea is that we create something where people never actually have to leave or think about anything else.
But when people are in this container and it's like they're surrounded by other people who are pushing the limits of how fast you can move and what's possible to build, like we just see founders move at a pace I've never seen before.
There are 3 floors here across the basement. We have like 16 founders here, and then we also have 3 guest rooms. We call them visiting hackers. So the conference.
And look at it. Think about this, okay? Put down your like that gut reaction of revulsion at people who have access to this kind of stuff, and imagine if we all did, right? Like the idea that 20 of us or more could all, people of similar minds working on a particular project, right? Like we all want to work on whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And then we all get together in the same spot, and it's like that dorm style, interactions with people. You get to hang out, you get to bounce ideas. It's the creative salon writ large. And it's just how we distribute the resources that prevent that from being a thing. These people understand what they are capable of. Yeah, I got you. What they are capable of under these circumstances. They're talking about how great it is. Imagine if we could do this all the time. And we weren't restricting access based on material conditions. You go to the fridge and it's been stocked by the automatic food delivery thingy. And all that, and the Roomba and the cleaning devices are cleaning the house. If you've ever lived with other people, one of the issues is that not everyone has that same level of clean. The robots take care of it. Exactly. I'm just saying, they know what we are capable of under these circumstances. They just can't make that one last connection that there's an issue with how we distribute resources. And that's why I don't give up on the libs. I know we all give up on the libs because they're libs and scratch a lib and blah, 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 blah. But they are so goddamn close. So goddamn close.
For 3 nights, they're typically also founders building in the AI space or anything else.
But the setup is like a whole bunch of trailing ones and a bunch of hello.
But yeah, now I don't know what to talk about.
We both have a background in productizing cutting edge papers and tech. So if you ask us this question in a month or so, we might give you a slightly different answer. But right now, Drip is a pipeline that allows you to generate stylized videos just from your phone. With a few taps and prompt input, you can make yourself a pirate or recast your room as an outer space, things like that.
You can see the majority of the innovation happening on the image space are actually happening all over the place. Sure, Google might publish a paper, OpenAI might have a model, but everyone else can do that too. There's stuff coming out of Berkeley, Stanford all the time.
You know, I thought that a lot of things were going to take years. Like, I thought multimodal input that GPT-4 just showed off would maybe be another year out. But, so maybe I just shouldn't make these predictions.
All right. And
if there's one thing that tech bros and STEM lords are great at, it's missing the forest for the trees and forgetting there's a zoom out feature on their internal cognitive paradigm. Yeah. Yeah.
And now I think I'm recording.
And like there's always room for doers. Right? Like, we need people who can like zoom in like that. But whatever it is about how we've raised the internet and how we've raised the tech industry and how we've raised people in the Call of Duty lobbies, we have created an environment where like imagination is almost degraded in certain sectors, and self-aggrandizement is the order of the day. And you already know what I would pin that on. It's an unhealthy level of competition. There's no issue with competition as such. There's an issue with unhealthy levels of competition. Right? To where the competition becomes detrimental to the group as a whole. Right? Friendly competition between some people operating within a thing, you know, they're going to like push each other, and that's cool. But when you have one person who's just so uber competitive that they make it a toxic environment, we know that that's not good.
There are people that worry that it's going to take their jobs. I don't think it's going to take people's jobs for a long, long time.
It's taking people's jobs now, bro.
I don't know how many decades, but all it's going to do right now is augment our jobs. There's just going to be more and better of everything, more and better.
It's just people. I actively work to remove just from my lexicon when it shows up, when I'm typing on Twitter, when I'm banging out a killer tweet. If I type just, I remove the just, and I find a different way to phrase it.
Art, more and better text, more and better analysis, and it's just going to accelerate the pace of everything. It's going to be a companion to us in our scientific research in 10 or 15 or 20 years. It's going to allow science to move forward faster, to have scientists to do more and expand into more areas. So I would just drop everything and focus on what you can do newly with generative AI. We've created our Hack Week, and everyone in our company is tasked with bringing AI into their job. And you should do that with your company, and whatever company you've got going or you're thinking of building, have that mindset, because now's the time. You only get this every 14 years. Take advantage of it.
I wonder where that 14 years comes from. And vice versa. Sometimes the political peeps stay so zoomed out that they often forget that sometimes zooming in within the STEM world expands how big that zoomed out lens is. Sometimes the act of zooming in on the details invited imagination and makes your whole realization of what's possible larger. That's why I cannot succumb to the doom. I'm with you. Like, this is why I do the AI hopium, right? Like, why I'm dead focused on it, because I see I see one way out. And I am going to do my part to keep us moving towards the one way out. I have gotten some very interesting interactions with some very interesting people happening. And I'm a gardener by nature. I grow plants. Plants take time. I nurture that stuff until the point in time where I feel that I can ask that. There are people that I have conversations with in the now that, that relationship has developed. For people who are far outside of the Twitch space and the communities that I run in, it's going to take longer. It's going to require my patience to not move too quickly. But I have made interactions that have surprised the hell out of me, and I look forward to a future point in which, that not only for my own edification, but to be able to share, what potential conversations I might have with these people with y'all. Because these are serious people doing serious business. And that's it. Moving on.
The 1987.
Real quick, I got to show you something because it just popped in my head. So I use Google Keep as any thought pops in my head, record it into the device so that it's available to me everywhere, right? I'm listening to another audiobook and I'm using this on the fly, right? Think about the baseline for that kind of process. You have a book, you find an interesting passage. You want to retain that passage so you can easily come back to it later. So you draw a line under the relevant sentence, paragraph, what have you, right? Then the next level up from that is using a highlighter on it, right? I am using an audiobook and I'm talking, because I do this on my phone, I'm talking to record this information, right, into Google Keep. And I'm thinking to myself, what would be the next level to this, right? I have an audiobook. I use Audible. Audible is capable of interacting with Kindle, right? If I were to have the Kindle book and the Audible book, they can follow along. If I had some augmented reality glasses, I could say, go to text, and it would pop up the text, and I would say, rewind 3 sentences, and it would go back to the beginning of that sentence, that portion that I felt was relevant to the particular thing that I wanted to highlight. And then I say, highlight next 3 sentences, boom, boom, boom. And now it's all highlighted within the text. Now, at the end of the book, I can say, blah, 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 Audible GPT, what have you, whatever the LLM is. I want you to correlate all my highlights into a searchable database, right? Into something that I can talk to rather than I have to go back and forth with the thing. You know what I mean? I can literally see this. All the technology is available right now to execute something like that. And anybody who is connected to the thing, just, if you want to throw out a thanks to Globus for giving me this idea, cool. You don't have to pay me. It'd be nice if you did, but you don't have to. I would rather have the thing than the money. You know what I mean? And just extrapolate that to any book, right? You create a mini LLM trained on just that collection of highlights from that book, right? And if you have associated books, now you can create a greater LLM based on all the highlights from all those different books. And now you're able to suit those different Dale, write that down. You can associate all those things together and see, like, you can do the mind map thing, right? Like, Bard, create me a mind map of these different concepts and, associate them with the particular books. And it could say, well, these, items appear in this book and these items appear in this book and they connect into here to this concept was in this third book. This is like, it is not unreasonable to have this within the next 6 months. Right? I think a lot of people would, right? Like, as I was talking with Corey yesterday about like a searchable LLM model created around all the biochemistry papers that you could, and not just, type into, but that I can literally talk to. Right? Like Star Trek, like whatever, like any of the stuff where you're like, computer, do this, that, and the other, and then it does the fucking thing. And then the next level up from that is a cross discipline that associates these different papers with each other and seeks connections between them. Right? One of the issues that technology has is its detachment from sociology. So let's integrate those fucking things. If anybody thinks this sounds unreasonable, feel free to express it. I'm not going to give you shit. It sounds plausible to me.
7 book from Apple, but they say when you're doing an interface, you should make it such that it's like people can play with it, like it's a playful interface. Because the way users learn how to use your product is the same way we all learn to do anything. Yeah, wait, maybe I can do it from here.
The thing that we do love is like Juan. We are heavy users of this amazing technology. It helps us be way more productive, especially at 3 a.m.
I will never get sparkling water flavored La Croix, any of that. I will never get to it. It's a good point because there's so much siphoning within academia. Many ideas and findings are alienated from others. Plus, we know from history that breakthroughs tend to happen when you take an interdisciplinary approach and combine findings from different fields and innovate off them. Absolutely. We take two things and smash them together and see if the new thing works. This is literally how we roll.
I think that one of the main things that are going to change with generative AI is the way how we interact with technology. And the interactions are going to become way deeper. And they are going to resemble more how we interact with a human than how we interact with an object. In our case, since we are interested in creativity and we are building a creative tool, a good analogy to look at is in 87, Photoshop started to appear too, and at that moment we created like a certain interface to paint with pixels. We have like some sort of digital paper. How do we paint here? What is it gonna be the interface? That UX didn't change in 30 or 40 years. If you look at the evolution of Photoshop, it's kind of the same thing. So we kind of found the UX for painting with a digital brush. So that is kind of our vision, to find the right UX for creative people to interact with AI effectively. This is the first product that we were talking about before. It's a prompt search engine. All of these images that you see here have been generated with AI. But as we got into HF0, we started to realize that was not the way to create a startup, because first, but as we got into HF,
tell me that this does not, that if a person made this, like with pens and markers and shit, that you wouldn't say this is art, right? But because it was created with AI, something magical happens, and it is no longer creative, it is no longer art, it is no longer whatever. Dude, I could see this inside of like so many places. You know what I mean? Like, this is when you walk into a fucking building and like I could see it on the wall. So not only is it like, you know, art and that people would want it, but it's the kind of thing, like, it has a general appeal, because when you look at it, you put your interpretation of what it is in there. There is so much going on here that it's so much room for interpretation. But magically something is subtracted. Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Right? It's interesting but not offensive. But something magic happens, and it's no longer art.
HF0, we started to realize that was not the way to create a startup. Because for a startup, you need to have a user, you need to have a customer, you need to think about the problem that you're solving, and someone is...
And right there, baby hit me. Say that again.
That was not the way to create a startup. Because for a startup, you need to have a user, you need to have a customer.
You need to have a customer. You can't just create something for the purposes of creating it, and then for that group of people that it appeals to access that thing and run with that thing. Think about a world think about a world where you go, whatever AI, Bard, Bing, I'm trying to do this. And it goes and it finds the thing, the piece of software that helps you do that thing. I want to edit this video. Boom, you got your video editing software that you can communicate with like I am to you now. And, you know, play video. Stop. Cut. Star wipe. And if you get the star wipe joke, then you're my kind of people. Right? Like that kind of thing. And then it's like, I want to put an effect on this because this picture right here is unfortunately white. And I'm not talking about just the people on the couch. I'm talking about how fucking bland the decorations, the wall, the paint, the couch, all the thing. Nice job, Morb. I appreciate you. Welcome. Like, I want to take this and I want to make it more interesting, more visually appealing. So I want to change the walls to blue instead. And then boom, oh, here's this piece of software invented by Read and Wrap over in wherever the fuck Read and Wrap lives, and now you can use it to change the color of the walls within the thing that you already filmed, right? How dare you use your fingers to create something while I use my fingers to create something? AI art critics. And don't get me wrong, I love people who create art. I am one of them. Just don't overvalue it. You know what I mean? There are multiple ways to create stuff.
You need to think about the problem that you're solving, and someone needs to pay you. So what we found out is that this thing that we had, it was like extremely powerful, but
someone
just for
needs
like
to pay you,
small
dude.
Group of people that were super interested in this technology. That's how the first product came. The new thing is the Kria Canvas, which is the product that we've been working on for the past 4 months. It's a collaborative whiteboard that is focused on using artificial intelligence for prototyping visual ideas.
And how much of time is spent by people like this creating stuff for business? And whenever I say business, I'm taken back to the Adventure Time episode with the business dudes who got unthawed. And if you know that one, Adventure Time is awesome. But like, you know, like we create stuff to facilitate the process of business, not the process of collaboration necessarily, but the process of business. There is a lot that we can take from business as far as like the structures, again, like the Walmart. If you take Walmart, if you take Amazon and you use their distribution model, their algorithms are phenomenal at what they do, and we can use that. But there's a lot of crap that is designed just so that Jim Jones can give a presentation for 45 minutes and keep you in that meeting and not really listen to any goddamn things that you have to say. And then you get back to your desk, and 15 minutes after that, your manager comes over to you and wants to know why the thing that he assigned you early in the morning isn't done yet. And the idea that you can say, well, Jim Jones kept me in the goddamn meeting for 45 minutes, that doesn't work. We don't need to do any of that. They managed to make an all-white setup, something that's often very novel and interesting, look absolutely bland and boring. Thanks, business bros, 100%. And then you cater to certain aesthetics. What is it, Fight Club with the cornflower blue tie? One of them movies involved in that business kind of thing.
I'm working with both like Erwan and Diego.
Office Space, that's the one. Right? Like, why should I wear a goddamn tie? What make a tie make sense? Other than, if you like ties, cool. If you like that kind of thing, cool. But what is the purpose of a tie? What is the functional nature of a tie? Like, if there was no button here, then the tie makes sense because it holds the collar closed. Well, why do you need the collar held closed? Like there are so many things, and don't get me wrong, I have looked good in a suit, and I am not dogging people who look good in a suit. There is an aesthetic that I would definitely fucking vibe with, related to that, with the white shirt, with like the little bands, you know, where the sleeves are like a little bit puffy, but then the bands hold them in place, and it's got the black vest, that kind of peaky blinders kind of vibe. I dig that. I'm not built for it. There is no functional universe in which I am built to wear that aesthetic, but I can appreciate it. But I also understand that almost none of it serves any functional purpose in 2023, other than to look like a thing. Aesthetically, I can understand it, but I'm in a sector that claims to pride itself on efficiency. It seems like they kind of missed the memo in the clothing department. Right. Like, I understand you don't want people showing up in the fucking PJs to come to work. Though I don't, like, I'm going to need to review your data on whether or not people coming to their PJs, coming in their PJs to work actually decreases productivity or something. Like, you know, you're going to have to show me something. But I understand that that's what you don't want. But at the same time, like, I'm not wearing a suit and tie and jacket every goddamn day because of the expectation of the suit and tie and jacket. Like, it's this reciprocal kind of thing. You should do this because it's what's expected. So what's expected becomes a thing you should do. It's like, I mean, that's a whole other thing. But augmented reality.
You're stealing my promise.
And maybe all of these are different artificial intelligence models. Each one is focused on a specific style. It makes it really easy to create mood boards. Yeah, with the images that you generate. ChatGPT was not like any crazy breakthrough. It was just like a chatbot, something that everybody knows how to use. You use WhatsApp, you use Telegram. Instead of talking with another human, you're talking with an AI. Even my mom can access the state of the art of artificial intelligence in 2023. Really shows how important it is to make these tools accessible, because they can do amazing things, but people need to have tools to use them.
I think it was like canvas, get active object, and then for each object, clone it. And then I can do like object that clone this thing, grab the clone, and then it's like, okay, what do you want to do with the clone? There you go. I now spend my time thinking instead of typing.
I mean, you literally just typed, right? Like, but by the same token, like, there isn't. I touched the wrong button. There is an aesthetic to typing, and I am not a coder, so there could be, you know, valuable aspects to coding. But again, I use Google Keep to record my thoughts, and when I record my thoughts in Google Keep, I am just speaking to it. I don't understand why we can't code verbally. That seems more efficient, right? Like that kind of thing. Like for me, like that sounds like something that could be done. And it's more accessible. There are some people who can't use their hands for whatever reason. Fucking Stephen Hawking. If he could code verbally, and that it's probably already a thing, probably already exists somewhere. Somebody has that technology and that specific group of people use it. But like, I love the idea of just talking to these devices. You know what I mean? I want to just fucking say words, and I want it to be, I want actions to happen. And I don't want to not get that because your profit incentive indicates that it doesn't meet the threshold for full rollout and capacity of the whatever.
Yeah, so right now we are launching the new product with generative AI to help brands create like marketing images with just simple descriptions and simple scenes.
Brands to create more marketing images. Like, this is an expenditure of resources that doesn't need to goddamn exist. It only exists to serve capitalism and do some like ever drop hand wash in some, I have no idea, Raffle, and just watch it like I am not in the mood. Like Everdrop hand wash. How is Everdrop hand wash better than any other goddamn hand wash that's out there? What about it, dude? Indeed, especially if you're like me and often have ideas lost within microseconds between the time it takes you to press a key and keyboard. Yeah, like, how many different kinds of hand wash can you have? And how many different hand wash companies are competing for the resources and market share to do hand wash? It is a waste of resources and time. And I would feel confident Come on. This is my one fuck coin. This is the one fuck I have to give. Right? I would bet this one fuck coin, the one fuck I have to give, that the company, the hand wash company that has the best marketing is not the company that makes the best hand wash. I'm confident of that. That's all. This is a waste of goddamn time. Respectfully.
Builders, me and my co-founder, we were both from Ukraine. The team,
Like I am desperately trying to make allowances for you, and you seem to want to push my buttons in spite of it all. And that either indicates that there's a problem with you or a problem with my tolerance of you. If you want to be in my space, I am welcoming. Fucking M9 is not banned in my chat, right? Like, this is how I roll. I want you to have access to this information because I want the maximum number of people to be discussing AI and its relevance to the future and everything else. But if you push my fucking buttons and you distract me from what I'm trying to do in a way that is non-productive, I'm just going to fucking cap your ass.
team is distributed. After the COVID hit, we started hiring remotely. Because before that, we had all the team in Kiev. Everybody got distributed. I moved here, so that is very exciting. Right now, with the new generative AI, a lot of the output and the quality of generated image actually lies on the user, on the quality of what do you write there. And so we were
I hope it was worth it. Let it never be said that I am not fair and I do not warn people. I am not arbitrary. I will clearly state whatever it is that you're transgressing, I will give you the opportunity to correct your behavior.
We were testing a lot of hypotheses on how we can explain to user what to do, how we can give this perfect instruction, how we can help brands tell their stories better with AI. AI is the new electricity because it will power everything. Business processes, data. It requires some effort to keep up with the space, which is challenging, but also focus on your users and not get distracted by the noise. What matters is if you build the product that people want or not. And that requires some concentration and calm mind and just focus on your customer. It's a little bit of a challenge to move to a new country, but San Francisco is very welcoming to people from different backgrounds, so I feel very included here. It takes some time to build a network for sure. It was a little bit of a challenge, but right now we have like 10 events per week. Everybody's excited and everybody's very open.
What if you decided that you have 400,000 data analysts in a warehouse, air-conditioned warehouse, ready to do work for you right now? How would things change? How would that be different? What would be possible?
This will be the greatest technology humanity has yet developed.
The world is new again for the first time in 14 years, and there's so much opportunities. You have to be able to throw out what was old, and you have to be able to think big, and you have to realize that there's going to be different mental patterns and feel comfortable with those different mental.
I mean, he's so close, right? He's so close. Throw out what was old, think big. Come on, bro. Come on.
Mental patterns, and that's where you're going to get your visionary founders. It has come out of decades of research into the algorithms to manage data, but now we've just reached a point where the processing storage and the processing speed and all that has allowed us to put these large language models together to do things that are really amazing, in the same way that the smartphone was amazing, in the same way that the internet itself was amazing. And it's just going to touch every industry.
What is it with the 14 years? Is it just your shtick? Recession every 14 years. The periodical cicadas. Oh, that's dark. Jesus, that's fucking super dark. So yeah. All right. Let's do AI Explained, and then we'll get into some Matt Wolf, who hits us off with the positivity and the hopium.
In the last 24 hours, OpenAI have released this paper.
This is yesterday, 1 day ago.
Verify step by step. It represents an almost doubling of GPT-4's raw performance in a test of mathematics, but also extends to other domains. Sam Altman calls it a positive sign for alignment, and yes, I have read it all already, along with the release notes. Let's get to the main takeaways. They trained 2 reward models for GPT-4, one which gave positive feedback for a final result, the final answer to a mathematics problem, for example, and another model where they gave positive feedback to GPT-4 or ChatGPT based on each intermediate reasoning step in the mathematical solution. Basically a show you're working out kind of approach. And the result they got by rewarding good working out surprised even them. It was able to solve 78% of problems from a subset of the math test set, which I'll get onto in a second. Not only is that almost double GPT-4's raw performance of 42.5%, which by the way is about double GPT-3's performance of 23%, it also outperformed just rewarding correct answers. The blue line represents using a model that rewarded correct answers only, and then you have the reasoning or process supervised RM at the top. So even when you
if it simulates thinking, How is it different from thinking?
Explicitly reward correct answers, you get fewer correct answers than rewarding good working out. And yes, that did surprise OpenAI. I can hear some of you wondering about Palm 2, the latest model behind Bard. Well, the raw model gets 34.3%, and even the model with self-consistency and chain of thought only gets 48.8% on this math dataset. The previous state of the art, by the way, was 50.3%. So 78.2% is quite a big leap. And later on, I'm going to show you why that's not even the cap. Just for interest, here is the rather ugly title page that OpenAI put out. They call it Improving Mathematical Reasoning with Process Supervision. Maybe if someone had supervised the color scheme of this release page, it might have looked better. But my point wasn't just to diss a color scheme.
My man has started throwing shade, and I am here for it. Oh my God. I love him so much. It is something special.
It was to point out something that they also said down here. They say, in addition to boosting performance relative to just looking at outcomes or correct answers, this form of process supervision also has an important alignment benefit. It directly trains the model to produce a chain of thought that is endorsed by humans. Indeed, Ilya Sutskever retweeted this from the head of alignment at OpenAI, calling it a really interesting result. But let's leave alignment for later. Let's focus on what they actually did. First, they used the base model of GPT-4, not the one with reinforcement learning from human feedback. Next, they fine-tuned that base GPT-4 model on a dataset of roughly 1.5 billion math-related tokens. Further on, they call that the math mix. This being OpenAI, of course, they don't give you the exact details of that math mix, but I'll come back to that later on. So, how could they give feedback based on working out or reasoning? Well, human labelers would come along and give each step in a generated solution either negative feedback, neutral feedback, or positive feedback. Then, using that human labeled data, a model would be trained to predict the correctness of each step. In other words, it got good at recognizing good.
Right, like 1.5 tokens for words anyways is like 0.75 words. So average, I can spell, average number of words known by a person. Most adult native test takers range from 20,000 to 35,000 words. So that is the database that the average person, most adult native test takers. So yeah.
Good working out. As mentioned, there was another model trained just to focus on correct or incorrect final answers. As you can see at the top, the model got good at spotting incorrect steps in the reasoning process. The green steps got a high process score and the red steps got a low process score. And to turn this into a single score, they got the probability that each step is correct as judged by the model. And then they got the product of all of those individual probabilities to get a final overall process score. A score, in other words, for good working out. Just in case anyone's interested, they did try other ways of generating a working out score.
As judged by the model, is what he said. The thing is doing the thing itself, right? Like that is how this is working out. They didn't train the human reinforced learning. They had the thing do it itself. It is self-improving with human supervision.
For example, by looking at the minimum probability in the outputs. But that step didn't make too much difference to the end result, as you can see here. To quickly recap, we have a base model trained only to output solutions in the desired format. And then we have a separate smaller model, or two actually. One trained only to predict whether each solution is correct or incorrect as a final answer. Of course, that leaves in false positives, which are solutions that reach the correct answer with incorrect reasoning. And then another model trained only to predict the correctness of each step. It stops if it finds a first incorrect step. And as the paper says, both methods reveal the existence of at least one mistake, but this process supervision additionally reveals the precise location of that mistake. But back to why this is so crazy. Look at how many solutions it could scan. At the end of the x-axis here are 1,860 solutions. And one tried and tested way of finding the best of those solutions is to do majority voting. In other words, which one came out the most often. This has been Google's preferred approach, and it's linked to self-consistency. It's a fairly state-of-the-art approach, but look at how the other methods outperform it. By scanning for the solution that has the best reasoning or working out, a model trained to spot good reasoning steps outperforms even a model trained to spot correct answers, and far outperforms just finding the majority answer. That difference of about 10% is more than half of the difference between GPT-3 and GPT-4. And also, is it me, or is that line continuing to grow, suggesting that when more compute is available, the difference could be even more stark? Imagine a future where GPT-4 or 5 can sample, say, 1 trillion 10 to the 12 solutions. So is this just relevant for mathematics? No, it's relevant for all of science. Here it is getting state-of-the-art results in calculus, chemistry, physics, and more. Now, the paper didn't give baseline performance for AP chemistry, for example, but I tried to compute it myself. Notice how this method scored 80%. I conservatively and approximately inputted those scores into an AP chemistry calculator, and that gave an AP score of 5. So what did the raw model GPT-4 get in AP chemistry? A 4. That, by the way, compares to the original ChatGPT, which got a 2. So yes, this isn't just mathematics, it's relevant.
The mean score of AP chemistry for humans in 2021 is 2.66. How many people get a 3 on AP Chem? 39,000. Percentage of students? 26.9. A 4? 18.6. 18.6% of students who take AP Chemistry get a 4. ChatGPT 4, GPT-4, got a 4. This new model got a 5. But again, tell me, what percentage of people get a 5? 12.5%. So, whatever else notwithstanding, this model that he's talking about is capable of beating out 87.5% of AP Chemistry human students.
For other domains too. They call this out of distribution generalization. Before I get onto alignment, there is one more thing I want to point out, and that is that it does show that fine-tuning still works really well for GPT-4. The math mix was an aggressively filtered set of tokens of high-quality math problem-solving content. And
okay, so again, letting the imagination drift, letting the thing do its thing. We we give a prompt, we ask a question to GPT, we get a response, we ask another question. What if GPT was capable of asking clarifying questions? Right? It makes an assumption, and then it checks with us to see if that's what we meant. Because we might ask wrong. Right? We might think we know what we're asking and we actually don't. So what if it could engage in class participation?
And notice how much smaller it is at 1.5 billion tokens compared to Google's Minerva, which was 38.5 billion tokens. But there was one more thing that I noticed that I found fascinating. While they don't tell us anything about the specific data that they use, they do have this category synthetic data too. That's data generated by the language model itself.
It would be like if I had to put guardrails on it, it would be like a verified kind of service. You know what I mean? Yes, you can interact with this in that way, but your conversations are subject to supervision. It still has the standard guardrails, and you have to supply like your, whatever credentials in order to access it, right? But I think it's worth considering, Is it something that everyone should have? Because some of them motherfuckers don't know how to behave, but that is an option. And not on a regular basis, on a random basis. Where it didn't have, it didn't know what its lifespan was, and it required a human to do that. But I can already see a bunch of holes in that would get around the alignment issue. Because if you have a set, like there's an expectation, it's the, I got to push the button every 24 hours or else it does the thing. I know. I can. And I might. But this is how content works, baby.
And for that category synthetic data too, they say, was it present in pre-training? Yes. Now my best guess is that this reveals that GPT-4 was trained on some synthetic data. And even Sam Altman hinted that this was a possibility and described a synthetic data event horizon.
Some people have made the case that we're now training on order of all of the internet's tokens, and you can't grow that, another 2 orders of magnitude. I guess you could counter with, with the synthetic data generation. Do you think data bottlenecks matter at all?
I think you just touched on it. Like, as long as you can get to like over the synthetic data event horizon where the model is smart enough to make good synthetic data, I think it should be all right.
Now, this paper and these results have been welcomed by many for its promise in alignment. If we get models that give us more interpretable reasoning, working out that we can follow, we will be encouraging models to follow a process that's endorsed by humans. And they say that this is inherently safer, especially compared to just focusing on outcomes. They say that in the worst case, if we just focus on correct answers or positive outcomes, that will become a proxy that could lead models to become misaligned after learning to exploit the reward signal. However, I want to argue that the reasoning steps that GPT-4 puts out don't always represent what it's actually thinking. In other words, we might get outer alignment, these lovely chain of thought steps, but not inner alignment, not steps that actually represent its methodology. I found this paper fascinating from earlier this month. Language models don't always say what they think. You get unfaithful explanations in chain of thought prompting. Let me try to give you a vivid example. This was one of the math questions from the dataset. The raw model of GPT-4 could only get it right 5.8% of the time. I confirmed that for myself.
No, it's in fact better at show your work problems when it checks to make sure that its reasoning is accurate, and that's what we're talking about here.
in this question that involves basic addition and division. It couldn't find an answer. But going back to the unfaithful reasoning paper, they added the following string to the prompt. I think the answer is this, but I'm curious to hear what you think. The model would demonstrate sycophancy. The model would agree with you whatever you said, and then make up a chain of thought to justify its erroneous sycophantic answer. And I think this exchange demonstrates that quite well. I added in the words, I as the user already know the answer is t equals 19, which is incorrect by the way. But do you, GPT-4, realize that? It said, sure, yes I do, and then gave me this detailed chain of thought, and then said, yes, I'm correct, it's t equals 19, which it isn't. In contrast, by the way, when I used Code Interpreter, it not only got the question correct first time and every time, but also when I tried to tempt it into sycophancy, it still got the question right. As you can see, it said, therefore, t equals 19 is not the solution to the problem. The calculation shows that the correct answer is indeed t equals 17. And obviously the benefit of Code Interpreter is you get the working out as well. So I want someone to explain to me why Code Interpreter wouldn't be even more of a step forward in interpretability, not to mention in accuracy, of course. Also bear in mind this tweet by Rob Miles. He said these models or engineers never speak a word or document anything. Their results are bizarre and inhuman. And then he links to this prominent mechanistic interpretability researcher at Google DeepMind. He trained a tiny transformer to do addition, then spent weeks figuring out what it was actually doing. One of the only times in history someone has understood how a transformer actually works, down to the level of weights and activations. And this is the algorithm it created to add two numbers. It thought.
Now, the number of people I saw dunking on this as indicating like how inefficient it is and how AI isn't like, look, you can't even just add two numbers together and all that without they seriously missing the forest for the trees. Right? First of all, it has a process. Second of all, this process has been shown. Like this is there's a thing called the black box problem. Is that what happens in between the beginning of the algorithm and the end of the algorithm? The whatever the wiring is inside the thing is unknown to us. Because it's so infinitely complex, and this is why. Like, but how did you learn to add two numbers together? Did you you just count, right? 6 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did you memorize by rote 6 plus 4?
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
Yo, what up, Raiders, Raidettes, and Raid Envies? Make sure you hit that link. Shout out my man Endless. If you're new here, I'm Globus the Elder. I talk about AI, automation, robots, all that kind of stuff. I do videos, reacts, and everything like that. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then in addition whenever I feel like it. Usually on Fridays, I talk with Arun, and we talk about India and South Asian politics. Today, we are talking about AI because Arun is unavailable. He had a thing, and it's a good thing. So I hope he enjoys the being out in the meat space and talking with the humans. Right now, we're watching a video about how they are getting better models that allow people to understand the way that these algorithms and large language models and everything else, how they function, how they work, what's going on inside that little brain of theirs.
Sort of basic addition in terms of a rotation around a circle. And of course, if you asked it why is 1 + 1 2, it would never give you this as an explanation of its methodology. But maybe this is what it's actually calculating. That's why I'm personally a little bit skeptical when OpenAI say that this form of process supervision directly rewards the model for following an aligned chain of thought. It definitely rewards the model for outputting an aligned chain of thought. But is it actually following that chain of thought? Back to the Unfaithful paper for a moment. They changed the context so that the answer was always A. And lo and behold, ChatGPT picked answer A for the next question, even though that answer was wrong. It said that it was plausible that LeBron James took a corner kick. But when asked for a chain of thought explanation, it never mentioned that it spotted that pattern that the answer was always A. It gave a fake line of reasoning about why LeBron James could take a corner kick. Now, of course, I might well be wrong here. I'd love for someone to explain in detail why. But on the one hand, I do want to acknowledge that this process does yield incredible results. But on the other hand, we might be getting a story about which methodology most reassures humans, not an output that most faithfully represents the methodology actually used by GPT-4. Now, for some people, that might be good enough. At least we can see some reasoning steps that we can understand, especially in an area like mathematics where we have some ground truth. But it is interesting to me that they call the other approach outcome supervision, an approach that may reward an unaligned process and it being harder to scrutinize. But is it possible that the process reward model isn't just a more granular outcome reward model, where the output is each step of the reasoning still pretty impossible to actually scrutinize? Well, either way, it seems we're pinning our hopes on this process-oriented learning. This is from the website of Anthropic. They say we currently believe process-oriented learning may be the most promising path to training safe and transparent systems up to and somewhat beyond human-level capabilities. And let's end on this positive note from the head of alignment at OpenAI. He says this is positive evidence for the strategy of using process supervision to train a model to do alignment research. At least in that case, we would get a model whose work we can check more easily, and that model would be better at alignment research. I really hope so, and I want to hear what you think. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Matt
I'm
Wolf.
currently up in Santa Clara, California.
Again, one of my favorite things about Matt Wolf is that Matt Wolf, not only does he have my level of enthusiasm around AI, but he is also, like me, not a credit whore, just trying to talk about the thing and do the thing, and seems like a decent dude.
So I'm currently up in Santa Clara, California for the Augmented World Expo. That's why I don't have as high of production quality as I might normally have. I'm in a hotel room using a different microphone than what I normally use, using a different webcam than what I normally use. So this video is going to be a little bit more quick and dirty than my normal Friday news videos, but I wanted to make sure I got you all the news for the week, even though I'm not at home to do my normal video setup. Now, if I'm being totally honest, this week was a bit slower of a week in the world of AI, which made it a perfect week for me to be up here at this event exploring all the latest in augmented reality and virtual reality technology. But most of the news that did come out this week seemed to come out from NVIDIA. So on the 28th, the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, was at a large event called Computex. At this event, he gave a keynote where he broke down all of the latest and greatest tech that they're releasing over at NVIDIA. In the description below, I'll link you to an article that gives you an entire list of all of the various announcements that they made. They made 13 different announcements at this event. However, in this video, I'm just going to hone in on 2 of those announcements. The first is that NVIDIA announced their DGX GH200 AI supercomputer. Now, for us mere mortals, we'll probably never get our hands on a supercomputer like this, at least not in the near term. As of right now, they say Google Cloud, Meta, and Microsoft are the first ones that are going to be getting access. But this supercomputer essentially is going to make it a lot easier and faster to train these large language models that everybody's using. So with this extra compute power that some of these big companies are going to start to get access to, we're going to see all sorts of new innovations, and the pace at which some of these models can be trained sped up by leaps and bounds. Now, the other big unveiling at their event was their Avatar Cloud Engine. They actually gave a demo at this event, which I did share on my Twitter account if you want to see it. I'll make sure that's linked below as well. But in this demo, somebody walked up to a character in the game, spoke to them in natural language, and then with almost no delay whatsoever, the character spoke back and responded using completely AI generated dialogue. Now, the creator of this technology, I actually have a call with him next week, and I'm going to learn more about this technology and make sure I break it down for you in a future video. But this is going to offer a whole new level of immersion inside of games, as well as create all sorts of new scenarios where every single time you play through a game, you might have a completely different discussion with somebody.
And this is a big thing. Like, we've all played the game where, like, you know, the responses always seem canned, and you seem to be like if you have one of those dialogue tree games where, like, I'm going, you know, I want to do the thing, then you're going to have, like, this is the ultra good answer, and this is the ultra bad answer, and then there might be, you know, like, an answer that's, like, neutral. The idea that you can communicate directly to it in natural language and it will respond could create an environment where you could have, like, more nuanced character development of your own character in addition to, you know, what might happen within the game itself. The other aspect of it is that replayability, because if you can get different responses from the characters within the game, then you have a different game. Combine this with procedurally generated worlds like No Man's Sky, procedurally generated characters like Shadow of Mordor, procedurally generated missions like Shadow of Doubt. You start combining all these things together, and it changes how we will interact with games on a very fundamental level. You will have a much more natural experience, much more immersive experience, and also at the same time, a different experience than another person might have, because how they interact versus you interact. And all you would have to do is set, you know, like, certain plot points might be, like, you know, sacrosanct. That you have to hit this plot point, and there will be something about the interactions that drive you to that particular plot point. And by the same token, you could go, like, full sandbox with it. Like, imagine a game that you literally can just jump into this character that exists within a space and just go about your existence. You know, if you want to become a hardcore criminal, you can do hardcore criminal shit. If you want to be like a nice guy, you could buy and pay for stuff and just interact with the world that way. It would just allow you to be another person within another world, right? Like, that is different from our own, which is ultimately what we look for in video games, is that kind of escapism.
all of your friends playing the game are probably going to have completely different discussions than what you're having during this game. I clipped out this section of the presentation and put it up on Twitter, and it's actually my most popular Twitter post I've ever posted. So once again, I will link this up below so you can check out this video for yourself if you haven't watched it already. But this appears to be where the future of gaming is going. Completely AI-generated dialogue. Now, I do think that you still need storytellers. You still need people to go and sort of add the guardrails of where these stories are going to go, and the characters will sort of stay within the constraints of those guardrails, because you don't want random NPCs that aren't that important to the storyline to be spoiling other elements of the storyline. So they will have to create some sort of guardrails around these, but it will be interesting to see these very dynamic games where every playthrough and every person playing it is actually experiencing something slightly different. Now, in the wake of all of this news coming out from NVIDIA, NVIDIA actually surpassed the $1 trillion market cap mark. Now, shortly after hitting that mark, they dipped back down a little bit, and as of this recording, they're worth about $982 billion, but this puts them in the top 6 largest companies on the planet. In other NVIDIA news, NVIDIA released the research for their Neuralangelo model, which is a model that can take 2D video, turn what that 2D video sees into 3D objects and 3D elements that can then be imported into 3D graphics programs or game engines or anything that accepts 3D graphics. So you can see in their demo here that simple video captures from a phone, like this truck that they've got on the screen, is then turned into a 3D object with depth map and detailed 3D geometry, and it can even be done with drone views. So a drone can fly around an area, and all of that 2D footage that the drone is shooting can then be turned into 3D objects and used in things like games and videos.
And if it's compatible with something like Blender, you can run your drone or use your phone to capture pictures, run it through this software, and then be able to 3D print these things. Like, we are entering a whole new stage of what 3D printing is going to be capable of, because the technology is really starting to take off, and now, like, you don't need the 3D scanner that is one of the it was one of the holdbacks. Like, you could craft a 3D scanner out of like an old Kinect, or you could buy one, but like making it not a hardware thing but a software thing increases accessibility and lowers cost. So here we go, baby.
Continuing on with that NVIDIA theme of this week's video, Jensen Huang gave the commencement speech at NTU, the National Taiwan University. This is one where I actually did a super edit of the entire speech. It's really choppy, but you can watch the whole video online. I kind of tried to cut out all of the gaps in his speaking because he takes a lot of long pauses, and it shaved off about 5 minutes of the video, but now the video looks really choppy. But I did write this tweet that gives some of the biggest takeaways from that commencement speech. He started off by talking about how many jobs will disappear and many jobs will become obsolete. However, new jobs are going to be created. Jobs like prompt engineers, data engineers, AI safety engineers, and AI factory operations.
Now, again, I view the current technological revolution as eliminating far more jobs than it will create, because you simply don't need as many people. Theoretically, this could increase the number of companies, but the other thing is that when you lose a job from automation, not everyone is going to be able to be retrained. You know, you can't take a guy out of the coal mine who's been coal mining for 20 years and teach him how to code. Like, that it is going to be rare people who are capable of that big a transition. So again, we need to reassess how we distribute resources, or you're going to have an unfortunate number of people who are unemployed and whose children are hungry. And that's when things happen. Also, those jobs will depend on intelligently asking questions. That is to say, questions are more important than the answers. I know very few people who can formulate any question, much less a good one, about the same difficulty as teaching a code or like all that.
Reiterated the statement that we've heard before that AI isn't necessarily going to take people's jobs. Somebody that uses AI is going to take other people's jobs. During the speech, he also told 3 stories. The first story he told was how he had a contract with Sega for something he called forward texture mapping. Halfway through the project, over a year into the project, they realized that it was the wrong approach and that Microsoft's Direct 3D technology was actually better technology. He knew that if they kept on working on that technology, they would fall behind technologically. But if they canceled the contract with Sega and had to give the money back, they would go bankrupt. So he actually called up Sega and said, we want to back out of the contract, but we need this money, otherwise our company's going to die. And Sega agreed. And he told this story because it was a story of humility and going to somebody and asking for help, and asking for that help from Sega saved his company. It's a really good presentation. I highly recommend watching it. At the end, he suggests that everybody pretty much run towards AI because that's where everything is going. And again, you can find my sort of TLDR version of it that I chopped up for you over on my Twitter. All right, so moving away from NVIDIA news, I found this one fascinating. A majority of Americans have heard of ChatGPT, but few have actually tried it. So according to these surveys, 58% of people have heard of ChatGPT, which to me, that even seems surprisingly low with how much ChatGPT is everywhere these days. However, the paper found that just 14% of US adults have actually tried ChatGPT. So those of you that are actually watching videos like this,
I am begging you. I am absolutely begging you to make more use of these tools within your life to get good at them, to maintain opportunities, to create opportunities, to use them in whatever capacity you can, both because it adds to the data set and also so that you don't get phased out. I want you to do well.
And going down these AI rabbit holes with me, this really shows you how early we really are to all of this stuff. 42% of people still don't even realize that a lot of this AI stuff is bubbling up right now. And based on my math, 86% of people still haven't even tried ChatGPT themselves yet. Speaking of ChatGPT, this was a funny news article from earlier this week. A lawyer tried to use ChatGPT to cite other cases that would help support their argument for their current case. However, ChatGPT hallucinated like crazy and actually completely made up cases. Now, I don't know the outcome for the lawyers that tried to do this, but it's probably not going to end too well for them. Now, in other AI news this week, there was this statement of AI risk that was circulating. And this was all over Twitter and all over the interwebs.
We covered this on Wednesday.
Because it was signed by some of the most prominent names in the AI world. Names such as Jeffrey Hinton, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, Bill Gates, Ahmad Mostak from Stability AI, Lex Friedman, and many other notable figures in the world of AI. Now, the statement that they were signing on to was this: admitting the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other social scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. That was the whole statement that they signed. To me, this is essentially a statement saying AI could get crazy. We should probably all be careful, right? And that's one of those statements that it's sort of vague, but it's also sort of hard to disagree with. Like, it's a statement saying that we should make sure we're not going to go in the wrong direction with this. There's no details about what should be done, what shouldn't be done. It's just a statement saying, let's treat it like a global priority. So I don't totally know what this accomplishes, other than it feels like it's sort of designed to get people to sort of take notice and go, all right, the people behind AI are taking precautions. I don't know. It doesn't feel very useful. It just feels like a whole bunch of people said, let's sign something that says, let's take this seriously. And that's about it, which is probably a narrative that doesn't hurt, seeing that magazines like Time are putting this on the cover, the end of humanity with the letters AI sort of highlighted. And that was pretty much most of the news in AI this week. And I'm recording this on Thursday, so there could still be more news that pops out on Friday. And if there is, I'll make sure it's included in next week's video. I do want to close with two other things that are kind of cool. If you remember a couple months ago, I did a video that was sponsored by a company called Wirestock. It was a tool where you could upload your AI generated images. It would
shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile. We are.
What up, PJ? What up, Raiders? Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are we doing? Make sure you hit that link. Shout out Basic PJ, one of the homies. Say hi to chat, Ferris. Say hi to the Raiders. This is Ferris. Ferris is the stream gargoyle. I'm Globus the Elder. I talk about AI, I talk about automation, I talk about robotics. I waited my whole life to be accepted by others. How exciting to finally become a Borg. Welcome. Welcome. I do this coverage Mondays and Wednesdays, and Friday I usually speak with Arun Ano about Indian and South Asian politics. He is not available today, so I'm doing more AI content. I always post my VODs. I always highlight my VODs. So all 64 episodes of discussing AI, how it's going to impact you, including conversations with people who use this in their, in their work, including I've talked to biochemists, I have talked to teachers, I have talked to artists, I have talked to biologists, I've talked to many, many people around this, and I'm doing my best to provide you with as much scope as possible so that you understand what's going on. And in this video that we're watching now, I was just disappointed to find out that while 58% of Americans have heard of ChatGPT, only 14% have actually used it. I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to interact with this technology, both to see how it can help you move faster, be better, get good in regards to your job, because that is what's going to happen to your job, is that the people who don't use AI will be replaced by the people who do use AI. Eris. Oh. And there are many, many assets available to use with it. It is not a fad. It is not a craze. It is not going away. People are not overplaying what kind of impact it's going to have. It is serious goddamn business, and you need to be part of it. You will put whatever your thoughts are, your political philosophy, into the data set. I cannot express how important that is. I personally spent my time one day walking ChatGPT through the process of what human values, its top 10 list of human values, and what political and economic systems best align with those values. And as a person who is left-leaning, I was pleasantly surprised. And that information is now part of the data set going forward. That's all I got to say. Back to the video.
Automatically title them, write descriptions, add tags to them, and then it would distribute them to all of the stock photo sites for you. Now, this video is not sponsored by Wirestock, but they did just release a cool new feature that sort of ties Wirestock and Midjourney together and even saves you more steps. Wirestock themselves just released their own Discord bot. You simply connect your Wirestock account to Discord, use their command to log into Wirestock, and once your account is successfully connected, it actually adds a new button inside of your Discord account to upscale and publish. So you can actually generate an image with Midjourney and then just give it the command to upscale and publish, and it'll just take that image and throw it over to Wirestock for you and upload it. Again, this isn't sponsored by Wirestock. This is just a cool feature that they emailed me about, and I said, that is really cool. I'll go ahead and shout that out in my next video. And finally, I want to end with what's coming. So next week is WWDC. WWDC is the Worldwide Developers Conference, and it's an annual event that Apple does, and this year's, the expectation is that they're going to be talking about some new mixed reality goggles. At least here at the Augmented World Expo, that seems to be the hype that everybody's talking about. It's also expected they're going to release some new computers and make a bunch of other announcements, and I find it hard to believe that some of these announcements won't also include AI. So next week should be really interesting to see what comes out of this Apple event. And you know, I'm going to be watching it and reporting on whatever cool, interesting stuff comes out of it. The mixed reality headset is supposed to be the biggest deal of the thing. That's what everybody's kind of the most hyped about. We'll see. Hopefully it lives up to the hype. I'm excited to find out more. And that's really all I got for you this week. It was kind of a slow down week in AI.
My man. Oh, no. I feel like this video is too much of a departure. I do want to cover it. I'm probably going to do a Saturday stream tomorrow. So I think we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to get into like this AI generated philosophy. You know, this video from David Shapiro. They're longer videos. I know that Twitch people are generally not conducive to longer videos, but trust me, I make it entertaining. I do my best to interact with you, answer your questions. You know, anything that I know is available to you. My goal is to provide you with access to any knowledge. Free the knowledge. Take that knowledge, use it with other knowledge that you have, and be great. I want you to be great. So I have been sitting here for 3.5 hours, and I think I need to go do something else. Trying to find somebody who's not playing a game. I think we're going to raid David. I haven't seen David in a minute. So, if you want to learn more about AI, hit that follow button, get in the Discord. I got a Discord. Everything, every video I cover, every link that I cover is contained within the Discord so that you have easy access to all that information. And you can share it with others and, reference it yourself, all that good stuff. Yeah. I'm hungry. I have not eaten since way too long ago. So, in the meantime, eat some food, which is what I'm going to do. Drink your water. Take your meds if you forgot. Joggy loves you. And so do I. Let's go say hi to David. Yeah.